Hello, Internet. My name is Xavier Hanson. I'm a partner with Reveal. Don't laugh.
Wait, are we doing our intros again?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, all right.
I'm in my news presenter mode. Is it wrong? Is it the wrong tone? Tell me about tone.
Coming at
You're
you
the
live.
marketing. Hello, Internet. My name is Xavier Hanson. I'm a partner with Reveal Group and I lead our Blue Prism practice.
Hello, Internet. My name is Lana Bednarczyk, and I'm a manager with Reveal Group and a certified Blue Prism developer.
May 19, 2021, Microsoft managed to strike fear into the hearts of IT organizations worldwide when they announced that Internet Explorer would no longer be supported. The current end-of-life date for Internet Explorer is June 15th, 2022, and whilst that date might change, currently Microsoft are encouraging all users to move over to Edge as the preferred browser of choice. Now, for humans, that might seem like a pretty easy thing to do, but for software robots, not so much. Why is that, Lana?
Well, if you are a human, which I assume most of us are, whenever you're interacting with a new browser, it's pretty easy to see that the buttons haven't really changed. You can click on the same place, write in the same place, etc. But the way that we build process automations with Blue Prism, we build interactions with those elements within a web page. So if you're switching browsers, you actually need to rebuild those interactions so that Blue Prism knows what to interact with, what to attach to.
Yeah, I mean, most RPA programs started 5 or 6 years ago when Internet Explorer was the only option, and so a lot of programs are built around Internet Explorer, so you can see how it would have a pretty big effect on a lot of those programs currently. Now, obviously, the announcement from Microsoft came last year, and since then we've been helping our clients a lot with converting from Internet Explorer to Chrome and have learned a lot of lessons along the way. And the whole point of having somebody like Lana here, who is an expert in all things Blue Prism, or to be frank, all things RPA, is to share some of those learnings. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, as this is a conversion from Internet Explorer to technically all Chromium browsers, which include both Chrome and Edge, you're going to hear us flip back and forth using those two terms interchangeably throughout the video. I apologize.
So here at Reveal Group, we deal with several different clients with different backgrounds and also with different versions of Blue Prism. So you may be asking, can I interact with Chrome and Edge with the version of Blue Prism that I have? And the answer is yes. Within Chrome and Edge, there are several different extensions, and there's an extension that is compatible with your version of Blue Prism. So you just have to make sure that when you're downloading that extension, you choose the correct one for your version of Blue Prism. And alternatively, if you are just getting Blue Prism installed, there is a checkbox that you can check to have the correct version of this extension just downloaded automatically.
Yeah, and I believe after version 6.8, the Blue Prism plugin is separate. It's updated separately from Blue Prism itself, so it means that if you're updating Blue Prism less frequently, which most of our clients do, they don't upgrade more than, I mean, most frequent at 6 months, most infrequent a few years. But as of 6.8, it effectively separated the plugin from itself from Blue Prism, so the plugin continues to get updated as new versions of Chrome and Edge get pushed out, but Blue Prism can stay the same and still interact with that. I think the pro tip we learned from one of our clients is at one point, Google pulled the extension from the Google store. So it's good to have a local version of that extension as well to be able to install in case that happens for any reason. Or third party involved, it's always difficult.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, Lana, the last time I developed a Blue Prism process, I think we just discovered the wheel. So yeah, and it was only HTML mode back then. What's different with Chromium and the way it's all spied?
So the main difference is you lose a couple of your spy modes that you previously had. So HTML mode does not apply to Chrome when you're spying. So the new mode that this has been replaced with is browser mode. Works really similarly to HTML mode, so not a huge learning curve. You also no longer have active accessibility mode. However, you do have UIA mode and region mode. I always try to start spying with browser mode first because I find it more reliable, but you know, sometimes it doesn't work, so you'll switch to UIA or region depending on what's most reliable.
Do you find that browser mode doesn't work as often as HTML mode used to? I've seen you with clients before and it just seems to be a bit more fiddly. Is that?
It is a little fiddly. I also have dealt with a lot of clients with oddly set up websites where it has trouble spying some of the elements because there's not a lot of dynamic attributes to them. But usually there's a workaround. And I actually do use UIA mode quite often with clients as well. But something to point out, when using UIA mode, you need to make sure your accessibility features are turned on with the browser that you're interacting with. So when you do that, when you launch your browser, in the command line parameters, you'll need to put a line that says force render or accessibility. But UIA usually works great, and browser mode for the most part works great unless you're dealing with some really complicated website.
Yeah, I think some of the modern experience websites are pretty crazy with trying to spy things, and it becomes performance becomes an issue there.
Right.
Yeah, it's all part of the magic.
Mm-hmm. I like naturally lean this way. I find myself like slowly being like, anyways.
Josh is just continuously tilting the frame to try to pull us back.
So another helpful tip is to utilize the tracking ID. When you launch a browser, it is one of the outputs from the launch stage. And you can use this tracking ID as an input to read stages, write stages, navigate stages. Basically what it does is a unique tracking ID is output for each browser window that you have. So if you have multiple browser windows that you're interacting with within an automation, if you utilize that tracking ID, you can tell that action within your object exactly which window you want to interact with.
Which is good because it effectively replaces the child index that we used to use for Internet Explorer.
Right.
But it's actually more accurate because you know exactly which window you're hitting. So
yeah, and then it's a unique ID every time, so it's not something that you actually set. It's an output value. So you know it's going to be unique to that window.
Yeah.
Another thing to look out for, so with Internet Explorer, I'm sure you all know that when you download a file, the Save As box shows up at the bottom of the screen. You have to click the arrows, click Save As, tell it where to save, lots of steps. With Chrome and Edge, when you download a file, it typically automatically downloads. And if your settings within Chrome and Edge are set as the default, it'll just go straight to your downloads folder. So sometimes with automations, we don't want it to go straight to our downloads folder. We want to specify a file path. So you'll have to go into your settings within your browser to change so that it doesn't automatically go to downloads. You can actually specify where you'd like it to go. So as we approach this potential deadline for Internet Explorer to be wiped off the face of the earth, what should our RPA COEs be considering, be planning for, be doing? Any risks?
Well, I mean, obviously they have to plan for it to actually meet the date and for it to disappear, and it means that ideally any automations that rely on anything Internet Explorer are moved over to Chrome or Edge. I think the harder questions to ask and answer are how to tackle it from a timing perspective and where you put your effort. Do you only start with all new automations going forward are in Chrome and Edge, and do you go back and go through your entire backlog of processes and objects to fix? There's also the question of, some of these processes have been around for 4 or 5 years. Best practices have changed over the last 4 or 5 years. Do you go back and take the opportunity to also update and bring some of those older objects into, the new way of doing things that make them more efficient? So there's a few different questions to answer, and really it depends on the organization, how big your footprint is, how many people you have available, whether you bring in outside help to do that, all that sort of thing. So there's quite a lot of planning that goes into the migration, as well as lining up resources to make sure that we're going to hit that date on time.
Yeah, lots of things to consider.
So Lana, there's a couple of tools out there about that automatically convert some of the code from Internet Explorer to Chrome. What's been your experience with those?
So these tools do exist, but they have limited applicability from what I've experienced. What they try to do is just take your application modeler and convert it to a different SPI mode. without actually spying the elements. So you're still gonna have to go in there and test every single element to make sure it's properly spying. Chances are probably won't be. So you're probably gonna have to respy them anyways. So it really just makes more sense to just start with your Internet Explorer object that you already had and go into each action and each element and just recreate those with Chrome or Edge.
So you've given a lot of helpful information. Is there any other more general tips that people can look out for as they start to automate with Chrome and Edge?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest tips is things are constantly changing within Chrome and Edge.
Faster than Internet Explorer didn't change in 20 years?
Yeah, Internet Explorer is slow, but Chrome and Edge, things are constantly being updated and changing. So you need to make sure that when you're spying your different elements, you're spying them knowing that they could change. So the attributes that you select, make sure those are the ones that are probably going to stay the same. Things like if it's a button, probably the value is going to stay the same. If it's a field, it might not stay the same for the value. But
it certainly puts a lot more pressure on the developers to be forward-thinking and it's less forgiving, let's just say.
It's less forgiving. So attributes that look pretty dynamic most likely are pretty dynamic. So be cautious of that just throughout your development.
Yeah. To learn more or to get assistance from any one of our 100+ accredited Blue Prism developers on your conversion or anything else IA related, reach out to Reveal Group via our website and our Contact Us form. For those in Australia, hooroo.
Hooroo.
And for the rest of the world, thank you.
Bye.
And put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Syllable.
Have you ever heard that?
Nope.
Okay.